Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, Pete. Welcome back to Films and Stuff. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
Everything is good. We have an action-packed episode today. We are talking about stream or skip, where each week we give each other a series to watch on one of our platforms, and then we report back to our audience whether or not it is worth watching or whether it should be skipped.
That's exactly right. And this week I had a little bit of an adventure, which I told you about.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we've talked about this in the past, and we've kind of made comments about it in terms of HBO Max.
Yeah.
So we faced this problem last year in 22. You had picked Julia and you couldn't find it anywhere, but it was interesting because it was available on my HBO Max in London.
And we were going berserk because you were swearing to me that Julia was a show like prominently featured on the main page of HBO Max. And I was swearing to you saying, Pete, I'm not blind, but I'm telling you right now, I cannot find it. It's not there. And we were both like totally like bamboozled about what was going on, right?
We were really, it was driving us nuts and it was making us question our sanity, right? Because
and each other.
It
almost drove us apart.
Totally. And I blame Warner Media for
HBO.
this.
HBO Max.
So interestingly enough, this is exactly what's happened to me this week, and not once, but twice.
Right.
So I was randomly assigned a show called Salem, which, we assumed was about either the cigarettes or either about the Salem witch trials, whatever it was.
Or both. Maybe that's how the cigarettes started.
Maybe that's how they lit the bonfires, right? So I wasn't super, the name didn't do anything for me, but I was like, all right, it's fine. And it's on Netflix, so I thought it would be an easy watch. Looked it up, down, left, right, everywhere I could not for the life of me find it. So I Googled it and I found out that last year Netflix pulled Salem from their platform. And I said, okay, that's fine. Maybe it's moved on to another platform. And there's a website service in the UK called Just Watch, and essentially you can type in this any movie or TV show, and it'll tell you on what platforms you can stream it on.
That's a useful service.
It's very helpful. It's incredibly helpful. And if it's not available on video on demand or streaming on demand, usually it'll say, oh yeah, it's not available on a platform, but you can buy season 1 on Amazon or through Apple TV or something like that, right?
All right.
Salem, not available in the UK anywhere, including I couldn't buy it on Amazon or on Apple.
Super weird, isn't it? Like, where does the series go? It has to be somewhere.
That's my point. So that was the question I had, is what this is like the graveyard of content. I mean, once it's made, it's made. Yeah. There is hardly any variable cost attached to uploading your content that's already made. So I didn't understand that.
And if you own, I mean, if you're the producer or whoever like owns that IP, you obviously have an incentive to put it somewhere, right?
As many places as possible, at least, right? So I said, okay, fine, forget about it. It's a one-off, no problem. I rolled a random dice roller and I got assigned The Never on HBO Max.
That's definitely worth that title is definitely worth a discussion. But I see where this is going. Tell us.
Guess what? Also not available on HBO Max. So then I was like, oh, maybe it's a regional or a geographic thing. No problem. I can find ways to still see it if it's available elsewhere. So I Googled it, and The Never was also pulled as a part of HBO's strategy of rebranding their content. And I can't find it anywhere either.
Okay. So you rolled a virtual die the third time, and what did you get?
Third time's a charm, and I got HBO Max's Garcia. Now, instantly, whenever I see anything with HBO Max, it's like a red flag. It's like, oh, is this actually going to be available or not? It's like another game.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Garcia was available to me. We will talk about that. But just before we do, spoiler alert, when I rolled the dice for next week's assignment, I got Julia, which is why I know Julia got pulled even from the UK HBO Max, because I can't find that anywhere. 3 assignments within the span of 2 weeks have become red listed for me because I physically can't watch them.
Yuck.
Yeah, it's a problem. Look, I don't know what the solution to this is, but for those of our listeners and, our general audience, when we do our reviews at the year end, we also tell you about the library. And this is why we say the library is a year-to-year thing. It is not something that once it's in the library, it's in there forever, because clearly that is no longer the case.
Yeah. I mean, this worries me. I mean, I'm all for getting rid of stale content. Of course, it needs to be culled from time to time. It's just good business to do some spring cleaning. But I'm also worried because seems to be a little bit more pervasive than we initially thought. And it's not good that, we're eventually going to be directed to, the biggest new releases on Netflix or, whatever the big show is on HBO. And essentially our choice is going to go down. And if you don't catch something when it comes out, you run the risk that you'll never be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. I couldn't watch 2 shows, one that I was kind of looking forward to seeing, right? I like the Julia Child story. I would have been very keen on seeing that biopic or that series on HBO Max, but that is not an option for me. And of course, I'm certain if I, went to the old school method of searching for it through less than legal means, I could find it. But that is not what we don't condone that.
We do not. Disclaimer.
And B, we're adults now. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we might have done when we were in college, when we didn't have $10 to our name.
Yeah, we're proper adults now.
It doesn't make sense for me as a grown person who's paying for these subscription services to then have to resort to the tactics of the Pete Mitchell from 25 years ago to find content.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, that's just my caveat. That's my word of warning to our listeners to,
Lesson of the day. Lesson of the day. I'm not sure what the lesson is, but it is a lesson somehow.
I think the lesson for me is, if you see something on your platform that, may not be necessarily the oldest thing, but you're interested in watching it, watch it when you can immediately. Don't wait for it.
See it, watch it. That's right. You got Garcia. Can I guess what it's about? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's a comedy about a cop and his family.
Okay, so you're not a billion miles off, but you are also, when you hear it, you're going to go, what?
Mall cop.
Also would have been funny, but not quite. So Garcia, as the name may imply, or at least certainly does, is actually a Spanish language show. Okay. And
Makes sense.
It's set in Madrid.
Okay.
And the first episode, a majority of it actually takes place in Cold War era 1960s. And the show is, at least that first episode, or a majority of that first episode, was in 4:3 aspect ratio, black and white. And it's about a Spanish super secret agent and his sidekick, Ortiz. So think of James Bond, think of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., that kind of thing. It looked like a spy series program. And you could tell that they made a lot of effort to make it look like it. So like the video was slightly grainy. It was obviously black and white. And, when they're on a train, you can see that the background is moving like a green screen, like a video. Or like when they're sitting in a car, you can see that the background is, driving independently. They're not really in a car, that kind of thing. So that way it was kind of cool. And like the action sequences were super cheesy, but they were doing that on purpose to really emulate the cheesy action sequences, or the action sequences that.
Is it supposed to be a comedy?
It's not. So I'll get to that. And everything that they were doing in that first episode were kind of like this effort to make it to fit in that era, right?
Okay.
And what happens is, by the end of that first episode, you find out that Garcia, this superhero / secret agent, he's got superpowers, but he's not a superhero. He's kind of like James Bond with powers. So, it's a weird mix. He dies, or so we think, only for us to find out in episode 2 that he's in a cryogenic stasis and he's been brought to the present times.
So he's
Captain America.
I was gonna say Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah. Actually, correct. Yeah, this is like a serious version of Austin Powers and a more campy version of James Bond and the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Captain America all mixed into one.
All right.
And so in modern day, the premise is that a presidential candidate in Spain has been kidnapped. A young reporter who's on the verge of getting fired from her internship at some newspaper is looking for a big break. She accidentally is given information about Garcia, and she's given his location. She unfreezes him and brings him back. And then, of course, as you would expect, it's about him getting reacclimated to present day times because, he's a man from the 60s.
Yep. Now color TVs.
That kind of thing, right? So it's
Wonder Woman 1984.
Exactly. And then the bad guy that he was fighting in the 60s has found a formula for eternal life. He's created this Frankenstein's monster style bad guy villain that's his son. And they're still alive in 2020, and they're causing a lot of havoc and problems. And of course, I didn't watch all the series, but I can only imagine effectively where the show is going is because this is nothing we haven't seen before. It's all relatively predictable. Clearly, it's going to be about a man who's out of time, but that's exactly what the world needs right now is someone with the sensibilities of a superhero from the 60s to find and eliminate the bad guy, that kind of thing.
Encino Man.
So it's got a lot of callbacks to other shows, which is why for me it's a skip because the story itself is not engaging or compelling. But normally that doesn't warrant it to be a skip. It could be good, it could be bad. But it's not unique. Like this is all stuff that we've seen, and it's been done really well before by a lot of different things. I mean, in the span of these 5 minutes we've spoken about it, you and I have already named like 5 or 6 other IPs that this is already copying off of.
It's a little bit disappointing.
It's a little bit disappointing. Look, again, it's also always a little harder when you're watching a foreign language series. And of course, Spanish is not my first language. I understand a little bit of it, but I still was requiring on subtitles primarily.
Yeah, this is probably also not the first time I think that I've given you a foreign language show, right?
No, I think it's like the 4th or 5th. But having said that, this is probably one of the better ones that I've seen of them.
That's good.
Again, it's not bad by any means. So normally this would be a mooch, but because it so clearly borrows from so many different movies that we've seen before, it's just like, okay, I mean, I don't need to see this again. I don't care how good or bad it is. Yeah. The sidekick is terribly annoying. The reporter, it's just, okay, I'm done. I'm out. It's not for me.
No. I mean, it took you 3 tries to get there.
It did, but that's fine. Third time was somewhat of a charm.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand. I mean, that can be like super annoying that you've got to like do it again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's okay. Unfortunately, I get the sneaking suspicion that we are going to have to make our lists a little bit more robust, not just in terms of quantity, but also in terms of, hey, this could theoretically be a show that will never be seen again, at least on a platform. So we need to figure out a way to maybe prioritize it or not. So for example, I would go so far as to say, and this is actually an indictment on Warner Media, anything that's on our list that's from HBO Max is probably something I would say, hey, we should probably bump up in the priority list if it's a show we want to see.
I mean, that maybe that's a good point that, that list isn't that outdated. I think we made that probably before the end of 2022 in preparation for, the turn of the new year.
Yeah.
But I agree, maybe we need to, rather than rolling the virtual dice, we just kind of need to prioritize them so that some of these things that we've identified don't, go out of stock or don't go off platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that on HBO Max's side.
Yeah.
Before the end of this year, only
Yeah.
because this is the year that they're planning on their,
Oh, yeah.
physical merger of
Yeah.
assets between Warner Media and Discovery.
Yeah.
So something to think about. We'll discuss it offline for our
Food for
listeners. We'll
thought.
spare our listeners, but it is food for thought. Anyway, so
Okay.
Garcia is a skip from me.
And you found it on HBO though?
I did find it on HBO.
All right. So I had something on, it's a BBC show, but it's on Netflix called White Gold. And I can't remember if we played the game last week where we tried to guess what the show is about based on the title. Did we do that?
We did not. And I
Yeah.
cannot for the life of me tell you what it's about. Unless it's a reality show about like either panning for gold
Nope.
or about like some kind of jeweler. I have no idea.
You will never guess this one. It is about window salesmen in the UK, specifically in Essex. You're from London. Where is Essex? For our listeners who don't know where Essex is, including myself.
It's in
for our hosts,
it's east
for our
of
hosts
London.
and listeners. It's where? East of London?
Yeah.
All right. So this is set in the 80s. So very similar. If you liked Wonder Woman 1984 in terms of the costumes and the culture, you will like White Gold because it's I think it's actually supposed to take place in 1983 in Essex. The main character's name is Vincent. He is, kind of like in his, let's say, late 20s, has a beautiful wife, has a child. He has a very nondescript job with a union, and he ends up getting fired because which is very hard to do if you're employed by a union, because he's not paying attention at work and something happens. He was like playing cards or something in the back room. And he finds a job. He's looking all over the place for his next job. He finds a job with a guy who set up a store to sell what was new at the time, apparently, double glazed windows, which, because of the white frame, the business owner refers to as white gold, saying that this is going to revolutionize everything. And that basically he's the first distributor of this revolutionary aluminum product in the UK. And basically the whole country is theirs for, the sale and installation of these new windows. Vincent, this is a comedy, by the way. So
okay.
Vincent, of course, is a little bit skeptical. And then he pulls off something. Remember the Wolf of Wall Street, where DiCaprio goes into kind of like this penny stock place?
Yeah.
And these guys like kind of struggling to like BS their way through, kind of some sales of very small quantities. And then DiCaprio's character goes in and has like this just very dramatic phone conversation where the guy ends up buying like $8,000 worth of like this worthless stock, right?
Yeah.
So Vincent, the main character, does something very similar. There's like a couple, like husband and wife, like looking in the store. It seems like they're just kind of like browsing. They have no intention of buying anything. And Vincent's basically his test to see if he'll be hired is to go sell windows to this couple. And he does a very similar Wolf of Wall Street type sales pitch. And in fact, at one point, he's explaining how strong these windows are. He kicks the window and it breaks. He's like, do you see like the crap that our competitor makes? And it's actually their own window. And he ends and he's like, your son could have like ran through this window. He'd be mauled. He'd die. He would have bled to death. Why would you, if you love your son, why would you ever, take a second-rate window and so forth. He makes a sale, and then he quickly moves up, and he becomes kind of like the manager of this place. And he's got two people under him, a very, very greasy, dodgy guy who can sell anything, and a very nice, decent, honest guy who can't sell anything. And the show is, just a compilation of their, different issues, right? Someone's husband gets mad because he thinks that, they ripped off his wife. There's this issue. There's an issue that they want a company car and negotiating bonuses. There's all sorts of office drama. So let's summarize where we are with this. It's fine. I mean, if you mooched it, I wouldn't think that that's bad, but to be honest, it's a skip. I mean, there's really no reason, if you've got a friend, that you would need to go over to their house, borrow their password just to watch this. It has some funny elements to it. I mean, if you liked The Wolf of Wall Street, if you liked, kind of the British Office than the American Office, but it has this kind of type of humor, which is a little bit off color. Of course, this is the 80s, so things were not politically correct. They play on that theme a lot. It's a BBC show, right? So I mean, you have to factor that in as well. Overall, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I watched my 2.5 episodes. Never did I feel like I could not put the show down. I could have stopped it at any time. Someone rings my bell, my phone rings, I've got to leave for something. I absolutely could have stopped it wherever it was in the show. No skin off my back. But while I was watching it, the outfits, the cars, the mustaches, all this kind of stuff is kind of okay. So I give it a skip, but I don't give it a skip because it's bad. I give it a skip just because I don't think it had really anything that kind of kept me engaged. But I have to say, if you really loved the British Office, if you really loved, Wolf of Wall Street, those are kind of comparisons in terms of the style and genre and humor type. I could see if someone said they really love the show, I wouldn't think less of them, but I think that 2 seasons, it's probably run its course. This would probably be a candidate at some point, to be removed from Netflix platform as well.
Okay. So I like dry humor.
Yeah.
I do like British humor. This is probably going to be something I add to my list.
Yeah.
My hot take, and this is probably going to cause some controversy. You say it's set in the 80s, but Essex is a little bit backwards. I wouldn't be surprised if it was set in present day and it just looks like the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, it's overtly set in the 80s, but I take your point, which is Essex may not have changed, it sounds like, so much in the past 40 years, but but I mean, it's all going to the style, right? I mean, it's not a central London show. It's not a US show. It's intended to be in kind of like a smaller town where there's more kind of like local drama. The office receptionist is weird. Everybody's weird in a way, right? Including all the characters. And it's supposedly, trying to be part of the charm. So to be honest, I don't really have much more to say. It's a proper British comedy. You will either like it immensely, but I think the majority of people will be like, kind of 1 or 2 funny things in there, but not really my style.
Okay, well, I'll check it out for sure.
But you had a show on Netflix called The Inside Man.
Oh yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Couple weeks ago with the Tooch.
Yeah.
And you gave it a pretty compelling review, and I think you went so far as to say that I would quite like it.
Yeah, I gave it a mooch, and I said that I think you would enjoy it because the premise was quite interesting.
Yeah. So I watched the first episode. I'm probably a minute away from the credits on the first episode. And I agree with your assessment. It is not a must subscribe. It is probably closer to a mooch. It is a pretty compelling show. And maybe not to give it away to our listeners, but that first episode also has some pretty unsettling content in it.
Yeah.
Is that a right way to say it?
Yeah.
Like a little bit, I don't want to say cringy, but it dives into an area that is not for, let's say, the faint of heart.
Yes.
And I have to say that kind of cut both ways. You know my style, Pete. I mean, you've known me for a long time, and you know my stance on like horror films and stuff like that. I have no tolerance for horror films.
Right.
And one of the reasons I don't is that I don't like, you may call me a snowflake or whatever else, but or a dandy, maybe is a better way to say it, but I do not like being forced to think about things that I didn't even know were things.
Yeah.
And now it's in my head. And I'm like, thanks, film. I came here to escape life. And all you've done is introduce me to this new thing that is very disturbing. Why did you subject me to that? And I have to say, as you know, this first episode does that. And even though I love the premise, actually. Premise is cool. Tucci is, of course, amazing. And whoever else is this prisoner that he collaborates with, this big dude.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. But the subject matter that they kind of tackled in the first one, thanks, but no thanks. I don't need that in my life, you know? So that's how I went from, I probably won't get into the second episode just because that's kind of haunted me a little bit. Maybe some people have a stronger stomach than I do for that kind of like criminal nonsense. But for me, I'm like, I just want no part of this. Like, I know it's not real, but like just the idea of this being like discussed and a thing, like doesn't do it for me, which is too bad because love the Tooch, love his character, kind of like the overall premise, pretty clever. I probably could have got behind this, maybe not as a must subscribe, but certainly as a solid mooch.
I get why this is a mini series. It's hard to, I imagine the Touche doesn't want to be bolted down for, a 22 episode season for multiple seasons. But premise was, I'm all in.
Solid.
I think it's a good idea. And I think that, like if you were looking to make a procedural, this is pretty good for a procedural.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into, or let's not get into the practicalities of a prisoner being afforded such liberties, right? Who's on death row. That seems to be a little bit on the unrealistic side.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of take it for what it is. It does seem to be a unique case. Obviously, the majority of death row prisoners are not treated like this. But I have to say, it was pretty solid. I was definitely engaged for the whole episode, but there was some cringy stuff in there. And at the end, I'm like, I don't need more of this in my life.
Yeah, I get it.
Or any of it in my life, to be clear.
I 100% get it. So that's fine.
So that's all I've got for Streamer Skip. I know, Pete, that you have already virtually rolled our dice. You have made the assignments. So shall we do a mini drum roll and the unveiling?
Yes, indeed. Insert drum roll noise here.
Yep.
You and I are both going to be on Amazon Prime. So I have fewer concerns about content being taken away because Amazon is starving for content. I think they're not going to be ones to take content away.
Oh man, I see what you've given me. Say it out loud. I'm scared.
You've got The Devil's Hour.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, I'm scared already. Is it going to be a horror?
I don't think so because I would only have put the shows that I put on your list are shows that I would be interested in watching, and I'm not interested in watching horror shows. I
really hope this isn't like some Satan.
Yeah, me too. But I think if I recall correctly, actually, I'm going to take a wild guess here. I'm thinking it's got to do with something prison related, or like criminal related.
All right. I'll check it out. Devil's Hour, not a bad title. Amazon Prime. But you've got something. What do you have?
I have A League of Their Own.
Oh,
and
man. Reboot.
For those of you who are old enough to remember, I don't mean the 1990s era Tom Hanks and Gina Davis baseball movie.
Madonna.
Oh God, yeah, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell. No.
Oh man.
TV
Star-studded.
remake of that, the TV series remade. I think there's a couple of SNL cast members. I remember when this came out first because I think this is an older show. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be quite excellent. It stars Darcy Carden. I think there's a couple of SNL or ex-SNL cast members in there. I'm excited because I like sports movies in general, and B, I actually really like The League of Their Own, the movie. So I'm interested to see what the take is going to be on this.
Super good movie. Okay, so let's see what the series is like.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to watch the whole series, not just limit myself to the 2, but I will keep you guys all updated, and we will touch back with you next week when we have watched these. In the meantime, if you have any recommendations for shows, our lists are looking a little sparse right now. Do us a favor, drop us a comment, like this video, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to the channel. Let us know. Aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com, or tweet at us at FNS Podcast, or DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. Give us more stuff to watch.
Don't be a stranger. Be a contributor. Oh,
right.
That's inspiring.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And we will catch you next week for another episode of Films and Stuff with our stream or skip segment.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.